Hey, eGPlearners, learners, and welcome as we join you from the UK Games Expo, where both me and Andy have been running around for the past couple of hours or so.
Yeah, it's been really good fun. We've been here for a few hours, drove down in the Mini, and yeah, we've been sat in playing some games and having some fun.
Yep. So, have you found your first board game conference kind of experience, Andy?
Yeah, it's good. Well, I've been to a few war games conferences before, or expos, I guess as you call them. So it's quite similar to that. Slightly different crowd, different demographics a little bit, probably a little bit more mixed, a bit more diverse here compared to those other experiences. But it's really good.
Yeah. Certainly. So this is my first full experience of a board game conference like this. Been to a couple of similar types of events, but definitely not the UK Games Expo. And yeah, it's been really interesting. I think the first thing we kind of noticed was obviously the COVID preparations, wasn't it? So what did you think of how they're trying to keep everybody safe and stuff? And
yeah, so they were prepared. So they sent, I purchased the tickets. So they sent an email a few days before just to make sure that I understood how to smoothly gain access to the event and what COVID measures were in place. So to get access, we needed to prove that we were sort of COVID safe. So that involved producing a COVID passport, COVID vaccination sort of proof of double vaccination. So I use the NHS app. I think you did the same.
So I used the NHS app as well, except I downloaded the PDFs just in case the Wi-Fi wasn't working. But yeah, it worked fine. They let us through. So to cover, you either had to be double vaccinated, as you said, or have an LFD test that was registered, or PCR test that was registered result, or if you had tested positive, I think it was in the past 6 months, then you had to prove that you tested positive and therefore don't need to test again.
Yeah, they assumed that you had antibodies and it was roughly equivalent to being vaccinated. So that was sort of the perimeter check. We've got red bands. You've got your red band.
Yes, got red band.
So that allows you to move freely within the NEC here in Birmingham, where we are. And then obviously the second check when we were inside was to make sure that we had tickets and give us our lanyards and give us entry to the event.
There we are.
Beautiful artwork on the brochure, the program. So yeah, that's really fun. So yeah, this is my first sort of big event post COVID. Yeah. So there's lots and lots of people around, lots and lots of stands. How are you finding being out in the big wide world again, Gandhi?
It's interesting. I think there's still been points where we've been a little. Should we kind of like the queuing was interesting. That is a good point. So when we arrived, they had a bit of a tech failure with the registrations. So what normally would have been a very slick, I think, walkthrough ended up building up quite a large crowd. I'd say there was at least about 200-300 people queuing, and people were just gradually condensing as we went along.
Yeah. Although they did deploy the stormtroopers and the Imperial naval officers to come and control the queue, so that was quite nice. There was cosplay people who came in.
I did get a question whether or not I had a Jedi beard and had to prove my authentication for the Imperial Army and stuff.
Yeah, and I tried to give up people next to us in the queue as rebel spies, but they didn't believe me.
No.
So, but that was nice and fun. Well, I guess there's no social distancing anymore, so it's fine to be condensed. So we're not wearing masks at the moment, Gandhi, but we have been wearing masks for the rest of our of our stay. We're actually quite some distance from other people. Although if we both duck, you can see the number of people around. So this is one of the big halls where there's lots of people playing games, and then there's activities in the other large area next to us. But masks. So have people been wearing masks as far as you?
I think generally they have. I think in the play areas like this, there's a bit less of it because people are sat down. But most of the time we've been walking through, particularly the demonstrator, the exhibitor area, majority of people seem to be wearing masks and stuff, and seems to be sensibly managed. We sat and played a game, and first thing the kind of host did was gave us a big bottle of alcohol gel to switch up with. I think obviously there's sensible reasons, transfer and that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's also potential transfer on objects, I guess, isn't there? Dice, cards, things like that. So they seem to be running it really well. It's really well attended, isn't it?
Yes.
It looks like they're having a successful time over things. Obviously, it's the first time we've been, so I'm not quite sure how many people they normally.
I suspect it's normally a much larger event. I know they did say that they were limiting the number of people that attend, and whether the change in rules has impacted the number of people attending, I don't know. I know we had some colleagues in the board game medics group that were contemplating coming, but kind of changed their minds because partway through the expo did change their rules about how they're going to do things, but then I think when the rules got changed again by Boris and everybody else, then they made it a lot more sensible for social distancing, and you know the vaccinations would be required, masks should be worn, all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
I think well run.
Yeah, I was going to say, we weren't asked to scan it with the NHS track and trace app at any point.
Although there have been QR codes, so I've seen a few.
Oh, okay. We've not been particularly encouraged to do that. So I thought I didn't spot them scanning, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think we've been directed to do it, but they are there if you look around in various places and stuff. But you know.
I mean, there's bound to be some COVID positive activity associated with the venue. So, I mean, it's almost a guaranteed thing.
Maybe.
Scanning it. So,
maybe.
Yeah, look out workplace on Monday morning. I'm on holiday next week, so
I've got a week to go, so hopefully no pinging in the meantime. But I mean, obviously we're here to look at the board games and stuff. Andy, I've kind of been giving you a weird kind of commentary tour for most of the event, haven't I?
Yeah, so Gandhi knows an awful lot about board games, as you're probably aware, and the industry. And Gandhi introduced me to one of the people who runs one of the main exhibitors here. That Gandhi had some contact with before. And that guy has an interesting backstory.
Yeah.
Telling me. Go on, tell us. I found it really interesting.
Okay, so this is relevant, I think, potentially to GPs as well, because it's about diversifying your portfolio and stuff. But massive shout out to Alicat Games, being a massive fan of theirs and the work they've been doing, and their owner Cesar, who used to work as a researcher in I can't remember, things like chemistry or something similar like that, and then realised he wanted to invest in his passion, which was board games, and he's now created a company with his partner Alicat Games, which is personally one of my favourite board game publishers. I think I've got half of their catalogue. And me and Andy have played a couple of their versions today, so we
played something that was in development, like a Starfighter game. That was really good. So,
and they're the producers of my favourite board game, which is Dice Hospital, which I know some of the eGPlearners players have heard me talk about on and off over the past, and it's still in the background of an episode that we need to do about board games in medicine, which is probably going to happen after our hopefully enthusiasm of this event. I think
so Gandhi, I was going to ask you, so do you think there are any transferable skills or principles or anything that medics can learn from board games at all?
I'd say absolutely. I think board games offer a variety of different skills in terms of decision planning, trying to figure out logic patterns, and also the social aspects of playing them in terms of how you communicate with others. I know you thought about other things in terms of behaviour management and what was it you were saying?
But I really like, so I think there's obviously the problem solving elements here, but then I think there are always multiple layers that on which you can play a board game. There's quite a superficial level, and then there are layers sort of beneath that in terms of the tactics, strategy, and also playing the people around as well, particularly in bluffing games. And that reminds me a little bit of the general practice consultation in a way, because I think there are multiple layers to that, often in play. And sometimes it's about, playing the person, understanding their agenda, their hidden agendas, and making sure that you play a good game in that 10-minute consultation. So there's a lot to sort of practice, I think. So I think it's a good thing for medics to get into.
Absolutely.
It's fun for anyone.
And I'm a big fan of using games as well to teach things. So many of my trainees and a few of the trainers I work with as well know that I love using board games in particular to help teach particular aspects. We came up with a really interesting interview method a while back about using board games and explaining board games as a skill that may help to understand how somebody can do particular aspects of working. So, with the trainees, I use it as, can you simulate a new board game and explain it to somebody within a short time frame, akin to how you sometimes get letters where you're having to then explain them, or conditions that you have to explain to patients. Sometimes you may not be aware of everything about it, because it's a really complex or unique condition, and you're having to process that. So it's kind of the same as teaching somebody to start playing a board game. So maybe that's something to give a try, or your GP trainers out there with your trainees. It's something I've done. I've actually got a video on that.
Yeah.
So I might publish that one, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's good for sort of generating quite a novel situation and seeing how people respond to that kind of novel sort of problem or puzzle that's been generated for them. So again, we've been here for a little while. Have you any particular highlights of the show? Anything that you've seen that you like the look at that you might go back and buy?
So I definitely enjoyed the Marvel Splendor. Although having said that, I've already got Splendor, the board game, already. So I think I'm not going to buy that. However, I have seen a couple of others. I did like the Starfighter game we played. So potentially looking at a couple of purchases down that route. What about yourself, Andy?
Yeah, I like the Starfighter game. It's very similar to Star Trek Attack, which I used to play a few years ago. And that's just in the Kickstarter phase. So I'll probably look out for that Kickstarter and maybe pick up an early copy.
Cool. So, eGPlearners, we hope you've enjoyed this kind of session of us talking about our experience at the UK Board Game Expo. This is our first time, and I think we'll probably be coming back next year, most likely. Hopefully, we'll get to see some of you there at the conference next year around. I definitely know some of our fellow colleagues in the Board Game Medics group may potentially be hopefully coming, and there are lots of other board game conferences throughout the year. We may actually end up doing one, I think. So I know we talked about that in the past and stuff, so you never know. You might be joining us for one of those in the future. If not, you're welcome to join both me and Andy at the RCGP conference, which is our next one, which will be in the middle of October. And we're presenting about how to do this, basically, how to use
creative portfolio GP.
So creative content, podcasting, video, logs, all that kind of stuff. We're talking about that as part of, again, portfolio careers for GPs. So you're definitely welcome to join us. That's in Liverpool. I think it's the 14th and 15th of October.
Yeah, 14th, 15th, 16th of October, something like that.
So definitely come and join us there.
And give us some feedback on how this live broadcast has gone. This is the first time we've gone sort of live in the field. Still
outside of our studio environments and stuff,
So we've been together filming for a while.
True, that's a good point. This is the first episode we've actually done since COVID came in person. So hopefully you guys have found this really interesting and different kind of contact. And you can see how this goes, isn't it?
So join us next Saturday for business as usual.
Absolutely. We'll catch you then. And as always, if you want to follow our content, feel free to do so. As we tech enhance your primary care and learning. We'll catch you in the next episode.